back to Comic Beyond Dark Tales. In this episode, we're going to be covering a Batman story called Batman Heart of the Vampire. So the story starts off Bruce and Alfred are on their way home and they're driving from the outskirts of Gotham City when their car breaks down. And so they see a house not far away, so they make their way there to find out that it's abandoned and it's all boarded up. So Batman, or well, at this time, Bruce, he ends up breaking in. And so when they get into the house, Bruce finds a coffin in the living room with this really powerful lamp beaming down on it. And so he tells Alfred, he's like, go back to the car, get a few flashlights so we can look around. And so I don't know why he does this, but Bruce ends up turning off the lamp that's beaming down on the coffin. And then he makes his way to the kitchen because he says he's going to get a glass of water. And so Alfred leaves, and Bruce is in the kitchen, and he's trying to get the sink to work. And he's startled because when he turns around, there's this guy, or which ends up being the vampire that was in the coffin. And so he kind of like shrouds his face with his arm, and then he kind of backs up into the shadows. And then the next thing you know, he leaps out and he's dressed in his full Batman outfit, his costume. And so him and the vampire start fighting, and he ends up breaking a chair leg off, and he tries to stab the vampire in the chest with it to no effect. It doesn't work. And so Batman's kind of boggled by this because he don't know if he's like a lunatic or an actual vampire, but he does know he just stabbed this guy in the center of his chest, and he should have been killed. And so Batman gets away from him. By then, Alfred gets in there, gets back, and so he grabs Alfred and they run up the stairs, and he locks them into this room and locks the door. And Batman tells Alfred, he's like, I don't understand. He's like, I stabbed him in the chest. He must have, figured out, he must have his heart in a different location or something like that. But he tells Alfred, I got to get back out there and I got to try to deduce, where his heart's at. That's the only way to stop him if he is a vampire. And so the vampire breaks into the room, and so Batman gets in another fight with him, and it leads back down to the living room, and they're fighting. Well, all of a sudden, Batman deduces about the heart because grandfather clock starts chiming. And so he starts counting the chimes, and as it chimes, it's almost in the same pattern, I guess, as the like a heartbeat. I don't know how he figured that out, but he is the world's greatest detective. But so Batman deduces that the vampire he figures out, he puts together the whose house they're in, and the house once belonged to a surgeon, and so he so at one point this guy was a really good surgeon, and he got attacked by vampires, and him himself became a vampire. But what he ended up doing was removing his heart. Since he's the undead, I guess he doesn't really need it. He ends up removing his heart and hiding it into this grandfather clock. And so Batman deduces who this is and where the heart's at. So Batman picks up like a rod or like a lamp piece or whatever, and throws it at the center of the grandfather clock, stabbing the heart. And and then the vampire, he grabs his chest, and as he's grabbing his chest, he's trying to have some last words, saying, I hid that heart so I would be, unstoppable. I'd be, 100% immortal. Then as he's saying, he's slowly turning to dust, and so Batman takes out the vampire, and so he's back dressed down as Bruce Wayne or whatever, and Alfred and Bruce are walking back to the car, and Alfred's like, "So, what do you think the odds are the car starting now?" And so it was like just a fun, just this is what I love about old Batman comics. Sometimes the writing hit or miss. It was definitely a hit or miss with this story, but the good thing about it is this was a fun, entertaining story, and I think that's why I like the character of Batman, but I think my favorite Batman is like the 70s and the 80s, even the 90s Batman, because he's still just a guy. Yeah, he might run with the Justice League and Superman and Wonder Woman, and they're like these godlike characters. But when you read these earlier Batman stories, or later Batman stories, he's just a dude in a suit who's kind of smart and has a physical shaped body, and like he's really sharp, you know what I mean? But he could still be killed at any moment, and he's still blown away when he sees something crazy happen. So he's very much, more to me back in the day when they wrote him, he was more human. You could connect with him more. So I love these old 70s, 80s, 90s Batman comics. It's probably my favorite version of Batman. Basically, when he was running around with the blue and the gray suit with the yellow symbol on his chest. 100% my favorite. Um, Not knocking modern comics. There are some good stuff out there. But so this was a fun story. If you can find it, it's actually put out by it's under the Detective Comics banner. Um, but yeah, it was fun and short read. It wouldn't take you long at all, but very enjoyable. So I hope you liked this episode. Um, Again, it's October. We're gonna have fun little horror stories like this. And until next time, I'll talk to you later.